You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
Hell yeah.
They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's gonna win that inch. And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you.
Hell yeah.
You're gonna see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're gonna do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen.
Hell yeah.
And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you gonna do?
Kustrim, that was Al Pacino. I'm Oppa. I'm from Helsinki, Finland. Yeah. So today we are talking about ideas and executions. Actually, yesterday was basically all about ideas. For me, when I'm sort of like looking at startups and all that, it's, you know, you probably heard this before. You're listening to what's the idea and what's the team, and both things are evaluated in terms for venture capitalists or business angels or other investors, whether they're going to invest in the company, whether they believe in the team and not. My thinking is that ideas is more about technology. It's a rational thing. It's an issue of rational. Now, what we're talking today is people. So a little bit about myself. First of all, did you find that movie interesting, that clip? Yes. Okay. There are a couple of reasons why I wanted to show this movie to you. First of all, is that if I would like to categorize myself somehow, I would call myself a coach. I used to be an athlete, European Championship level athlete, also a coach. My game was, surprise, surprise, American football. I've been coaching juniors, youngsters, and adults in that beautiful game, which is the greatest game in the world in my thinking, because it's so strategic. So that's one reason. That's sort of like, that's part of me. The second thing is that this short clip actually has it all. It's all about execution. What do you think what these guys started to do? They started to execute. They were committed. They had the mission. They knew what to do. They had the leader who was taking them to, just against any opponent. So what I think that this this is good metaphor here in talking about startups and sports. I mean, you can find the same element in both sides. Okay, so this is my professional background. Now that I told a bit about my past as a sports guy. Of course, I'm a family man as well, father of 3. Coming back to that later, how the children actually teach you on things, how you get to manage those things as well, those little creatures, and what they actually teach to you on the fly. So, but this is the companies I've been with. So Helsinki Ventures is the startup accelerator based in Finland. What we're doing is that we're making early stage investments in startups in Finland, but not just Finland, also companies coming out from Eastern Europe, especially from Russia and ex-CIS countries. So I also show here my relationship with Finnish universities, the Helsinki-based universities. Helsinki University, first of all, I'm one of the co-founders of Helsinki Think Company, which is the first entrepreneurial program at the Helsinki University, which is very classical university, research-based. And I'm a coach at Startup Sauna, which is the Aalto University startup program. So, and at this point, I would like to make a little announcement here. Startup Sauna is actually planning to have a local event in order to select the companies for their next program in Tirana, September 17th. So as soon as you get some information on that, line up for this event and meet the Startup Sauna coaches over there. Unfortunately, I can't be there. I'm traveling elsewhere, but that's a good place to be. So, idea. As said, ideas come and go. Technologies come and go. Trends come and go. So when you have an idea, in my perspective, I really, of course, the idea has to make sense. Technology supporting the idea has to be there. It has to be good enough. But it all comes down really the execution. And the execution is the people side. People are the ones doing the things in startups. They are changing the world. They are executing the idea and making success out of that. So when I'm evaluating startups, I'm always more concerned of the team. Since the team can do the pivots, the team can change the course of business, the team can do the changes in the technology and all that, if they are good enough in executing those ideas what they have. So this is an old one. I actually used this already probably 15 years ago in one of my startups to actually pinpoint to the people, what the startup thing is all about. Luckily enough, I found this today in the magical internet, since it's been lost for many years. I didn't find it before. But the whole point of this slide is basically that when you compare the value of idea to value of execution, you actually see that even the bad idea is actually quite valuable with just good execution. But amazing idea with bad execution or weak execution has a lower value. So this is where it comes down to. So I really think that people make the things happen. Not the technology, not the idea. It's the people business. Back to the football. This is a real life Al Pacino. Vince Lombardi was one of the most successful football coaches ever He won many Super Bowls at Green Bay. He's one of my favorite philosopher. I mean, seriously, when you think of it, football coach as a philosopher, well, but he has good ideas. Just go and check out his quotes online. I mean, you'll find crazy ones over there. They're so good. Putting things on as a sort of like a football coach, sort of like philosophy in a very simple, very direct way. This is one of my favorites here. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to his commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. This is why I'm an entrepreneur. This is why I'd like to go for excellence, whatever I do in terms of entrepreneurship and with my portfolio teams. I think that, who of you like freedom? Do you like freedom? Or being a slave? No? Most of you guys like freedom. I think that you're then a potential entrepreneur, since being an entrepreneur is the only way where actually you're mastering yourself. You set for your own future, no matter what. And it's all about the execution. No excuses. It's all about the execution. Well, what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? Peter yesterday said that, it's all about luck. I actually changed my slide a bit due to that quote. Since, like in sports, also in business and also in startup businesses, the luck doesn't come by accident. It's actually a result of work. It's a result of relentless work, so many hours, so many repeats, so many pivots, all that. When you think about sports people, athletes, I mean, how do you make sure that you are better than your competitors? What are those things that make you better? It's the practicing. It's the repeats, whatever you're doing, and all that. So now, when you think of it, now we're talking about the individual. I myself, I'm a big fan of team sports, and the same applies with startup life. If you have to do a lot of work, endless hours, 24/7, months after months after months, living in uncertainty, not having needed funds for doing your stuff, not being very insecure of your future, not knowing whether your customer buys your product next week or not, never knowing whether they pay for you in time or at all, not knowing what happens with a strategic partner, if they're going to choose another technology or another partner they want to work with. So how do you make that happen? How do you get that team working for you really go there and do all they can and seek for the excellence? One of the reasons what I showed you this speech of inches video clip is that this is the second time I'm actually showing this to other people. The first time was with my first startup. We were in the situation that we were actually running out of money, not sort of like releasing our product out yet, not launching it yet, and we had lots of work to do in order to get it done. We failed to get bridge funding for that extra work that we needed to do in order to launch. So we had to do some very hard decisions. We had to cut off half of the people from the startup. when you do that, how many of you have been in the situation when in a startup you actually have to fire people on the fly? So here. So you know how it feels, and you know what's the result of the thing. If you just do it and don't sort of like put attention to rebuild the commitment among the people that are still working for you, what happens? People start losing their faith. They start looking for other jobs. They start sort of like, you know, not giving that extra effort in order to do it. So what I did is that when we announced the cutoffs and when it was executed and all that, I took the rest of the guys that we had in the team in the meeting room, and I showed this video. I didn't say anything. I just showed this video, this clip. What happened is that the guys went out. All of a sudden I saw them working late hours again, weekends again. Somebody came to say to me that I'm ready to cut off my salary a bit if it helps at all. I said that I did the same already. I haven't been taking any salary out of the company for a while. So all of a sudden other guys come to me and say the same. So with that, we actually had 1 month more, sort of like runway, in order to get the product launched and all that. So we succeeded with that. I managed to find the commitment to what we were doing, and just showing this video, they understood completely what I was after. I didn't have to say anything else. I probably, at that point of time, since I was sort of like a, you know, not having any salaries myself and all that, putting myself in totally, I was kind of like example, probably the other guys as well. So there I find, and all this happened sort of like not really thinking about it. It just, it went, I mean, looking backwards, I can't really say when I decided that I'm going to do this. I just felt like I have to do something like this. I have to wake up people and say that, okay, I have to build up the commitment again. And we did it. So basically, it all comes down to the leadership. Again, like I said, this very clip actually wraps up the whole thing, what I'm talking to you today. Since it's a leadership to really stand there in front of your team and be the example of how to do the things, seek for excellence in whatever you do, and demand that excellence from your teammates, from your co-founders, and all those guys. Since that builds up the mission inside the team, everybody knows then, after that, you know, what is the direction where we are going. Everybody forgets about just the daily complaints about we're running out of coffee and where's the toilet paper and all this stuff. They don't care, because they have, you know, a lot greater things in their minds, lot bigger tasks in their minds, what they should be doing at that time. So I guess that it all comes down again to the leadership. Now, talking about that, I mean, it's funny that I in my life have experienced that, you know, being a family guy, having the family, doing the sports, it was my hobby, and all of a sudden then finding the same issues in the professional life is somewhat funny thing. I mean, like, it all comes down together, sort of like it's not about managing people to do the things, giving orders or advice and telling them what to do and all that, but really letting them to sort of like trusting in them, letting them do their own job, since you already decided that actually when you hired them. So again, it's a game of inches game in a way that you know, every hire that you make sure that there's, you know, those guys have the talent, have the passion, have the commitment, and build it up if they don't, because that's the sort of like, in my view, that's the secret of the success. Now, since we started a bit earlier, I'll try to catch up here. I still have 1 minute time here, so any questions? Thank you for your time.